The thing about the rankings, and you guys well know this, it's tricky though, because you can chase your tail around in who beat who and who beat who, because we've got 8-1 and 17 and 2 teams out there that pretty much are the teams that people would point to as that's an impressive win. Well, those teams have only lost 1 and 2 games, so there's only so many teams that have beaten those teams. I counted 13 6-3 teams in the Power 5, so that's tough to sort through those in doing my own rankings. And I'll give you one situation, case in point, Mississippi State. Okay, they were 17 in the committee's rankings last week. They're 17. They play at Arkansas, who obviously must have been just out of the committee's rankings last week, because now they're in the rankings. They're a 5-3 team at the time. They're now 6-3. So Mississippi State loses that game. They miss a field goal at the gun that would have sent it into overtime. It's a game that knocked them out of the rankings, but you get 2 comparable teams. They play a game that hedges on a missed field goal on the last play of the game. What do you do with that? What do you do with ranked teams losing games to other ranked teams? Aren't they kind of what they're supposed to do? And they're pretty much the same team we thought they were going into the game, but the record's just worse now.
How can you expect a rankings committee to do something like rank teams? I mean, that's just a really big ask. I for one am offended that you would even make such a comment. I mean, I don't know why you think that they could be able to figure that out. Obviously, if you're in the SEC, it just means more. So just, put them all in the East.
I think my thing is they get to tell us how good a win is by putting teams where they want in the rankings. All of those 6-3 teams, they get to tell us, well, say Pitt, for instance, they're 6-3, they're not, but we're going to put them at 16. That makes the win that, whoever had against them even better, as opposed to, well, we could just leave them at 24. They get to tell us how good these wins are with their opinions and with their rankings. So they control all of this. They can make a win better or worse by simply leaving a team out. Ohio State's win over Penn State is not as good as Alabama's win over or whatever. It's like they get their judge, jury, their defense attorney, they're the prosecutor, and they get to also write the narrative. And but it's a playoff. So here we are complaining about 4 teams or 8 teams whittled down to 4. It's like, this is all stuff that I agreed to. It's better than 2 teams. So, but also we're going to talk about it. I mean, come on.
These rankings would be more fair if what actually should happen. What is magical about 25 teams? Is the 26th best team in the country, or they just fall off a cliff? Like I try to stay away from saying ranked wins. I go quality wins, what I consider a quality win. The comparison between number 20 and number 40 in the country is probably razor close. That collection of teams are so close. We should probably rank every team in the country 1 through 130. And therefore there's no difference between 25 and 26 and 38 and 39 and 92 and 93. It's all the same.
Why are there only 3 medals at the Olympics? Why don't we have a 4th and a 5th? I mean, yeah, somewhere, I guess, but I agree that, it's like in recruiting rankings, whether or not it's a Rivals 100 or a 247 top 247 or whatever it is they do over there. What's the difference between 100 and 101? What's the difference between we're going to hand out 35 stars and you're 31, so you're 4 stars? I mean, it's really negligible. And, I understand, but I'm not here for a 3-hour show as we sit there and we go through the entirety of the Sun Belt and having to hear where they're ranked and listen to them try and come